Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David. This week's guest yacht is a fresh new design from an old and respected name in the multi-hull industry, the Catana Ocean Class 50. Today, we are going to review its specifications, pricing, and layout against three similar new vessels. 2, do a full tour asking, what would Sylvia say? 3, naval gaze, an innovation and or adjustment that might make life aboard a little easier. 4, have a look at the used market for 3 to 5 year old comparables. And finally, we're going to give it a Dave score and compare the result to all our previously reviewed yachts. From our perch high over Vancouver, British Columbia, we swing over to the west coast of France and last week's shipyard, NEEL Trimarans in La Rochelle. From there, we head southwest to the Mediterranean coast of France and the Catana shipyards in Canet-en-Roussillon. Finally, we jump to the Languedoc-Roussillon wine region and the vineyards of Jeff Carroll in our wine pairing with the Ocean Class 50, Côte du Roussillon Village, La Bête Red Blend Roussillon. La Bête, being our wine this week, has a label that represents the Roussillon region and its wealth and culture, its inhabitants, land, sea, winemakers, and fishermen. La Bête is the unique fishing boat used on the Mediterranean coasts. It's a transparent garnet red, slightly purplish color. The nose offers fresh, tonic notes of wild black fruits, a small touch of yogurt and spices. The palate reveals soft, rounded, intense fruit flavors, blackcurrant, rich and juicy. The aftertaste is slightly chewy, but not harsh. Once again, blackcurrants and spices. With time to air, it becomes richer, greedier, and more intense. Let's go have a look at that boat. Looking at this vessel, you know, she's a really interesting design. Very aggressive, high bows, reverse bows, with a long cabin there. And unlike the Catanas of the past, no aft helm station. You have a raised and relatively protected helm. Those dagger boards are obvious there and they look pretty darn sexy. The overall look is one of purposeful aggression. The helm there is very comfortable with lots of space for both a navigator or a helmsman and somebody to work the winches separately if you were racing it in teams. Again, from the bow, very purposeful aggression, a little square. Looking at the overall profiles compared to its competitors here, you can see your mast height or your air draft is probably number 2 behind the XS15. You've got the same square footage of upwind sail area as the XS15 at 154 square meters, which is quite significant. The only one other than that is the NEEL 51 at 171 square meters. Looking now down onto the rooftop, you can immediately see that on the Catana, I'm not going to be able to resist the chance to suggest the Versa Lounge, I'm going to start calling it in honor of Phil and his boys. But you've got a lot of space up there for solar and easy movement around the boom. And you don't have sort of the pads and such that you do on the XS15. You do, however, as opposed to the Outremer 51 and the NEEL 51, have some very nice factory designed forward loungers. It's not a forward cockpit, but it's the next best thing. Now, heading into the saloon, this is where it really stands apart. This is where the innovation hits. Obviously, you can't avoid the comparison to Bali here, but it's not like a Bali. You've got a very wide sliding door. It's not a garage door, so you have the refinement of a fully finished ceiling in the saloon. You have, however, what I love is separate eating and separate lounging spaces, and the lounging space at the front hearkening to the Lagoon 50 with a nice little step up that gives you full visibility out the forward windows, and just creates that sense of separation. You could almost put a carpet down there and create a living room sort of thing. I like the layout compared to just about any of the others here. I prefer the layout. The NEEL 51, probably my next favorite, but it's nowhere near as unique as the Ocean class here. So heading down into the cabins, we've got again, they've done a damn good job here, given that this is a performance cat. So no, they haven't done an athwartship berth. And some of my viewers are annoyed at me for hearkening on the thwartship berth. But what they have done is given a full two-side access, which allows you access to the head of the bed for easy making, at least allows one person to exit the bed without disturbing the other, and gives a real sense of space in the cabin. And it's really that perspective that you're looking for, that sense of space. And I do like it better than any of the others here. Looking now at the actual statistics, you will see the Catana is not cheap. Again, bear with me on the pricing here. Take it with a grain of salt because the exchange rate is changing so rapidly, and commodities and logistics are going up so rapidly. There could be 3 months of delay between these prices that I've gotten from one manufacturer to the other, and it could impact the overall comparative. So give it a 20% give or take. So we're looking at €915 on the Catana. The XS at 737, not really directly comparable. The Outremer, which is directly comparable, at 890. Looking at the statistics now, and bear in mind the prices. You need to take them with a grain of salt, give or take 10-20%, simply because exchange is changing so rapidly and cost of materials is changing so rapidly. There could be a 3-4 month delay between when I gathered each of these, so bear that in mind. But having said that, the Catana is the most expensive at $915. XS is $737. Outremer 51 base at $890, so about the same as the Catana. And the NEEL is the most inexpensive at $700. So now, why is that cost there? And is, again, one of my viewers, and I love these comments because they're way more educated than I am in either of these things, and they tend to point out areas where I should focus on. If you look at the very bottom, we'll skip to the bottom, look at the hull. So the Catana uses e-glass and carbon fiber and Twiron, whatever that is, cloth reinforcements. It uses vinyl ester. So you have polyester, vinyl ester, epoxy, and several grades of epoxy, and foam core. So they've taken it up a notch. The XS15 is using GRP polyester and a balsa core above the waterline. The Outremer 51, e-glass and carbon fiber reinforcements, polyester. I'm assuming they probably have a vinyl ester coating on the outside and foam core. And then the NEEL 51 is GRP polyester foam core. So you can easily see where there would be some cost delta there with the carbon fiber and the vinyl ester. Having a quick look at length overall, the Ocean class is the longest at 51.6 feet. The air draft is the highest on the XS at 91.6 feet. The upwind sail area, highest on the NEEL at 1,846 square feet. The mainsail is the largest on the XS at 1,065. And then getting down to livability here, on the horsepower, we're looking at, of course, the NEEL 51 is the highest at 75 because it only has one. But looking at the others, which are comparable, the XS 15 is at 57 horsepower. Probably because it has to push 19 tons of boat. I skipped displacement. I apologize for that. The Ocean class is not a lightweight. It's 14.5 ton. The NEEL is very comparable at 14 ton, and the Outremer would be the lightest with a light ship of 11.2 ton. And then down in capacity, so fuel tank, again, XS is the biggest at 1,040, but it needs it. The next behind that is the Ocean class at 800 liters, which obviously this is meant to travel and go places. And supporting that is the water tankage, which is 800 liters. If I'm not mistaken, that's the same as the Bally, so probably sharing equipment there. But at 800 liters, it outstrips any of the rest. At this point, I just want to quickly ask you, if you're enjoying this, give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share this out with a couple of like-minded sailors tonight. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks very much. Okay, hopping on board. What would Sylvia say? This has a nice single spreader mast there. The boom height is very comfortable to access from the coach roof. The one thing that hit me immediately jumping on board was I loved the exterior furnishings. They put a little detail in there, just a nice little crease. Everything looks very tight. There's no wrinkles. It looks high quality. However, when I scanned inside, all of a sudden I got the opposite impression. It felt like a Bally, not what I perceive the Catana brand represents. You had laminate panels. You had paneled end boards on the couches there instead of an upholstered arm. The table was on this squared boxy thing. Every corner was square, no rounded corners like on an Outremer. And the laminate looked like laminate. It didn't look like a nice veneer such as the Outremer or the HHs, and that's where I class this vessel, and it should be. They went way too Bally on their furnishings. Outside, you probably have space for a nice barbecue on the other side there. Look at these windows. Love these windows. They completely retract in. You can see that massive backsliding door. So on both sides, the back door, you can completely open this thing up. Now, scanning across the coach roof, you know what I'm going to say in naval gazing about that empty space sitting right there. But you can see fabulous access to the boom and the sail bag, the lazy bag, and up these side decks, really wide side decks. There's those beautiful dagger boards, but the side decks are so comfortable. I do wish somebody would throw on some solid lifelines instead of these strings. Great dolphin seats. Look at this factory included or factory available front lounge. I think they've done a great job. They haven't put in a front cockpit, which I of course would love, but they've done the next best thing. I think they've done a fabulous job at execution on those factory available loungers. Everything feels very sturdy. Again, the chain goes all the way back to the chain locker near the mast. Now, we didn't mention the mast. The mast is dead center on this thing. So I'm thinking your hobby horsing is minimized. This probably has an extremely comfortable ride. Having a quick peek in this forward hatch, you've got tons of storage space in here. So lots of room to store just about everything you want. Easy ladder access way down in. It's very well done. And the hatch itself is a really good size hatch. It's not what they have on the HH50, but pretty damn good. Looking down the side decks, again, look how wide that is. You can see the perspective. Look where that mast is, right dead center. And honestly, they do a fabulous job of hiding it in the saloon. I think hats off to them. Here's the cockpit again, nice separated winch and line handling area, beautiful winch catcher there, no spaghetti line all over the place. Nice padding so that the fella handling the winches can lean back comfortably. Great helm, nice like triple helm seat, or you could just stretch your legs out and lay back. But look at your external cushions, how elegant they look. And how tight they are. I'm sorry I sound this way, but so many of them look so sloppy. And this looks really good. Love this rear lounge in the saloon. Don't like the colors. The renders initially had a much warmer sort of walnutish look, or a teak. And just really do not like the end arms on that settee as it's kind of slapped in laminated panel. Ooh. The other thing is the corners on everything are corners. There is no way in a yacht of this caliber with that brand name and that brand equity, those should be straight corners. They should be nicely rounded. And these end arms should not just be base panels, they should be upholstered. But look at the center island there, again, hearkening almost back to the Lagoon 50, which I know some take as an insult, but I mean it as a complete compliment. I love what they did, and they got the step up. The galley a little small now that I am sensitized by one of my viewers, but really elegantly set up. Everything has a fiddle. There's some nice inserts below the fiddles onto the countertops. It has a sense of space and relaxation. Look at the size of that fridge. It's like a home fridge without being as in your face as the Bali's. So they've done a really nice job on there. I just wish their interior designer had gone a little harder core. Look at the seat. Now there is a beautiful front nav station, and they've got a real seat, so you're really going to be able to sit there and do a watch if you want to. It looks extremely elegant. It's extremely well executed. As a hater of nav stations, I love that one. Heading downstairs into the owner's cabin. Here we go. Now look at the size of these windows. They're fantastic. Look at the counter space, the storage. They've got mirrors everywhere. The actual berth space here, you know, the rear window over your head kind of comes over your head, so you're almost looking up and out. Side window, and that space, although you are sandwiched in there somewhat, it gives it a sense of space. That area down the side and at the foot. Moving back into the head, again, they have done a fantastic job. Look at the size of that sink. Lots of mirror space, huge windows, lots of light. They even have a heated towel rack there, a la Oyster. Very nicely executed. Good shower area, and the head itself here is extremely nice and comfortable. Now, let's move into some naval gazing. Speaking of heads, the one thing I noted from our friend on Carry On Sailing, who owns the NEEL 51, is on one of his maintenance shows, he was talking about the issues of head maintenance. And when you have guests on board, the horror of them clogging up heads. And his comment was, if you could put a bidet and get rid of all your toilet paper, you would thank him forever. And I don't doubt it, because I've watched our friends Keith and his wife digging around in their privileged 585, fixing the heads, and every time it's somebody's put something in there that shouldn't be in there because they can, or too much toilet paper or whatever. So I fell in love with bidets traveling the Middle East, and I don't know why the heck we don't have them all over North America. I would no more go to dinner, wash my hands with a dry hand towel than jump off a building. I don't know why we haven't gotten into the idea of bidets in North America. Look at this. This is a marine bidet. It self-cleans, self-sterilizes. It has a macerator built in. It has lights. It has a warm dryer. It has adjustable heat seats. It has an automatic deodorizer. I mean, can you think of anything better for your boat? And no toilet paper. Now, if you don't want to go that way, you could retrofit with something like this. So again, full remote control, heated seat, self-cleaning. You've got it all here. So why would you struggle with an old toilet and toilet paper and all that nonsense? Go bidet. Now, moving back out, look at the space again. The way they've executed that berth there with the side and the foot space. Coming up again, this feels like a condominium. It feels so comfortable. I could easily sit here and look out. Don't like the colors, don't like the blue, don't like the bleached wood. You know my feelings on that. Moving into the passenger side here. So guest cabin at the back, again, very attractive. I can't get over the amount of sense of light and space in here, and easy to make the bed, so I think they've done a brilliant job. Moving in here, they've got a separate room for the head itself with its own counter and its own sink. Lots of space. It gives a real sense of comfort. And then moving over, you've got a shower room over here, again, with its own sink, with its own counter space. So, and huge use of mirrors. Look at the way they've used mirrors in here. They're brilliant. I don't know why more people don't do it. So you have a perception of space, but you got lots of counter space in there. Now moving up to the front here, look at that nice little seat you've got there. You move into the bunk space, but let's talk a little naval gazing again here. So what would I do? Not much to this boat other than take a page out of Outremer and HH, and that is offer a modular front compartment instead of the two bunks. Again, I don't know why there's such a fetish with how many places you can sleep on a boat that's only 50 feet. Two-bedroom condos go for $2 million in Vancouver. Nobody thinks to add more beds to it. So why would you do it on your $2 million Canadian boat? So I would offer, at least as Outremer is doing, a modular front compartment instead of those two bunks, and offer a laundry room config, such as a Leopard does, an office with a Pullman, such as Outremer does, or a dressing room, such as Outremer does. You can never have enough hanging space, because remember, this is our imaginary lifestyle. We gotta have room to hang those tuxes and dresses for those beautiful casino nights. Now, going over to the port side bow, look at the amount of space you have forward of the shower. Why not put a door in the shower and turn that into a walk-in closet? She will worship you. It's just a logical thing to do. So, moving on to the coach roof, you knew I couldn't resist that. Look at those solar panels. Do those remind you of something? Yes, they do. The Versa Lounge with the pop-up seats so that you can sit up there and lounge at will and not lose your solar. So I would recommend you drop it in there. It's ideally made for it, and you're off to the races. And if you don't know what a Versa Lounge is, have a look back at our last post. Now, carrying on, we're just looking again at the bunks there. They're very well executed, and you got massive light and space in there. So I think anybody would really enjoy those. So, swinging around, we'll head up and over. Up into this lovely saloon / living room / dining room / beautiful kitchen. Just very comfortable and roomy, other than the finishes. Out that door, fabulous door, out onto this beautiful back cockpit area, great furniture, great cushions. The whole thing looks terrific. Love the way the ceiling's beautifully finished. There's not a lot of shiny plasticky looking fiberglass showing. You got nice stainless steel highlights there. I'd throw some more indirect lighting under the couch for sure and under the cabinetry. Looking on the outside, again, she's a handsome boat. And you have those fabulous windows that slide back in, those very aggressive dagger boards that you love. I'd be proud to have this boat, and I bet you she hauls pretty good. So there you have it. The Catana Ocean Class 50. And she's an aggressive, purposeful looking boat that anybody would be proud to own. Before we head into the used comparables, just a quick reminder, if you can, hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share this out with a couple of like-minded sailors tonight. Thank you. Moving to the pre-owned comparables. So, first off, we're looking at a Catana 53. This is a 2019, so she's a 3-year-old boat. They're looking for 1.549 using our 50% rule. We're sitting at 1.357 for a brand new one, so tag on some for all those toys we add. You're pretty close. I would probably go with the Ocean Class 50 though. Although I love it, hate it, I love that condo-like interior. Now, next up, we have the Outremer 51. We always have to come back to the Outremer 51. So we have an 019 3-year-old boat. They're looking at 1.2. We've got 1.357. So you're after you do with your add-ons, you're probably looking at a $250,000 delta. I would probably still go with the Catana simply because I know my wife would like that layout way better and a more chance of going around the world with her. Heading on to the NEEL 51, we got a 4-year-old boat here. They're looking for 825 versus 1.35. That's a heck of a delta, and I'll bet you that NEEL would give the Ocean Class 50 a run for its money. I'd probably have to look at that NEEL depending on how good it is. The overall interior finishes and everything are about comparable between them as far as the sense of elegance. Moving then on to the Exquisite. Here's something unique. The Exquisite, the X5. Now, love it or hate it, that exterior, this is an extremely well-made boat with a lot of innovation. At 1.3 million versus 1.350 for this new one, I'd probably have to go with the Exquisite. I'm of an equal mind with the type of finishes they use in the Exquisite and the Ocean Class here. It's that bleached sort of looky wood that I don't like, but that Exquisite is a hell of a boat, and I'd probably have to go with that. And finally, here's a one outside the box for 750 grand, the First Slider 49. We've talked about this. I like the Slider. He's just released the Slider 54, which is a nice design. His Slider 80 and I think his 60 are highly unique with the Sly Fly, he calls it. But it is a relatively untried brand, and probably would lean towards the Catana unless I'd done an awful lot of homework here. So, off we go to the Dave score. And our Catana did really very well. So, interior elegance was hurt by the finishes and the lack of rounded corners at a 6. The exterior, although I really did like the way they've done their furnishings, their cushions, those cushions at the front, I'd probably even give this a 7.5 if I was doing half marks. The interior comfort, 8. It has a condo feel to it. Aside from the finishes, You can't get away from that layout. It's really fabulous and it feels extremely comfortable. The exterior comfort, there's nothing really special there. 6, maybe I was a little harsh there. Those cushions up front are nice. Maybe should have 6.5, 7 there. Quality, I'd give it an 8, just from the indicators on the hull materials and the way they've executed. And I'm going to lean on the reputation a little bit. Performance, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to bet this is a pretty good performance vessel. Lazy Sailor, 7. There's nothing really special, but it does all come back to that single helm. It's probably very easy to single hand. Condo, give it an 8. It really does an excellent condo image, maybe even an 8.5. Geek score, nothing really geekish here that would send me over the edge, so give it a 7. Value for money, I'm going to give it a solid 7, which brings it to 71, tied with the Dufour, just behind the Leopard. And if you bear in mind, this is not, my tagline is not designed by sailors for sailors. It's designed by sailors for a focus group of 45 to 55-year-old women, so that and for sailors' wives, so that they will go sailing with the sailor and the sailor can go without a divorce. It's a little awkward and I have to work out the kinks, but that's my tagline. So bearing that in mind, that's why this is positioned where it is. And I think it worked out quite well. Wrapping things up, we've got our art stop, and we're stopping over at the art in Roussillon, or Languedoc-Roussillon region, and we find Paul Gauguin and the David Mill in Pont-Aven. Paul Gauguin, post-impressionist artist who became well known after his death, spent some time of his life in the westernmost region of France, Brittany. To be even more precise, he discovered a small town, Pont-Aven, through his fellow artists, such as Pissarro and Job Duval, described as a town of 14 moulins and 15 maisons, so 14 mills and 15 houses. As a parody of how small it was, Pont-Aven took a special place in his soul, and he returned there over the years. His work was influential on the French avant-garde and many modern artists such as Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse, his work was influential on the French avant-garde and many modern artists such as Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse, and he was well known for his relationship with Vincent and Theo van Gogh, and you can almost see that here. I do love the Van Goghs since I visited that area. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I do, and you've enjoyed our little tour today. That really was a unique boat. I think they can do a few improvements on next gen, but they're on the right path. I would definitely consider that one. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.